Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the session. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning, audible.
Okay, fine. All right. So, have you gone through the content of week four? How is Flask? We have just introduced Flask, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, okay. So, I hope you have also been able to follow the lab assignments and everything, right? Okay. So in the last session, activity practice session of week four, we actually kind of gave you a brief on what Flask is and how do we create simple web applications with Flask. Okay. And previously the sessions that we had taken, it gave you some brief on what is templating, right? And in the HTML sessions also, we have taken some basics of HTML, which and also had mentioned there that we will be taking. So there is one component that we are not taking now, that is form, right? So in today's session, we'll be taking that part. So form, HTML form is something that is very important for any web application because it allows user interaction, right? So how do you give your data? How do you give information to the web application? So that is with the help of form, right? So in today's session, we'll study how to create an HTML form and also create a backend for it. That is, we'll be creating a small application, small web application using Flask, obviously, that will send a form to us, and then we will fill in the information and send it back to the server. Okay, and then see what server does with that information, or at the backend, how do we use that information? Okay, so I'll just share my screen.
Sir, this is recorded now. Sir, this is recorded now, sir.
Yes, yes, this session is being recorded, and I'll also share you the live streaming link. Okay, I'll add this link to the calendar later.
This is the
Let me.
basis for week 5 lab assignment, no, sir?
Which one?
Like getting input, what you are doing now, form, filling up the form and getting input.
Week 4 lab assignment. Yeah, some idea you'll get on how to do week 4 lab assignment.
Even for week 4, okay.
Yeah, so week 4 lab assignment, if you see, there is a small, one input form wherein you put, first select whether it is
Yeah,
student
just
data.
the data is already there. We are not going to add anything to the data, no. In week 4,
Yeah,
we just get the details if we give some inputs. That's it, no.
right.
But whatever you are going to do now is about week 5 assignment, I think, no.
No,
Getting
no, no.
input
I'm just,
to.
no, week 5 assignment will require some more because that will also have database component. Today
Okay.
we are not dealing with database because week 5 content, I think, is
Af-
recently released. We have
Okay,
released
okay,
yesterday.
okay, okay,
Okay, so week
okay,
5 is basically dealing with models. So we are talking about this MVC design pattern from the very first lecture, right? So MVC
okay,
model view controller. So till now we saw what view is. In week 5 we will be seeing what model is. Okay,
okay,
so model is basically everything that takes care of database. So we'll be creating database at the backend, and we'll be using an ORM for that. Okay, all these terms will be clear when you go to the sessions, obviously.
okay,
And in the next week, we'll be having, we might have an extra session for week 5 because the content is fairly complex and large. So we'll have to cover that in a couple of, at least 2 sessions.
okay,
Okay, so there is basic. So I mean, with the models in place, we will have a good idea of what databases. How do we add new content to the database? How do we update it, delete it, things like that.
okay,
Okay, in today's session, yeah. So I mean, obviously, the content of today's session will always obviously help you in week 5, but I
okay,
mean, this is specific to week 4, anyways.
okay,
All right, so I hope you can see my screen. So basically what we have to do is we have to create an application form for grade exam. Okay, so obviously this will be dummy. So this will look like an application form which will take up some information from the user. It can be some personal information, name, city, address, things like that. Okay, then profile image, because obviously there is this that passport size image that we add in any form. And then other curriculum related details. So it doesn't have to be actual information. It will be, so what we are doing is going to create a form that will take all these fields information with the help of different types of fields. Okay. So that form will be sent to us by the server when we go to this slash register endpoint. Okay. So obviously in any application, in actual Gate website, what do you see? You click on register as new application and it will give you a form, right? So that click of a button actually triggers a request to the backend, and that is the response to that request is sent back to us as a form. Okay, so that is what we are going to do. So once we fill the form, all the data in the form is filled, we click on submit or send or register. I mean, the button data can be anything. So this data, whatever we have filled in the form, will go to the backend, and then we'll use that information at the backend, and we'll try to create a rendered page with the help of that information. Okay, so the information that we are going to put is itself going to come back to us, but in a better rendered format. Okay, so there will be two pages that we're going to create. One will be the form, and one will be the review.html, which actually gives us, I mean, obviously, when you fill the form, it gives you the review of form to just check whether the information is correct or not, right? Then you can finally submit. So that's what we are trying to replicate today. Okay, so I hope the question statement is clear. With as far as Flask is concerned, we'll be creating a small application. The major takeaway from this session is to understand what is get and post method. Okay, and then obviously some input form elements and input types. Okay, so this is what we are going to do today. Those who have joined late can again refer to this same session in from YouTube. Okay, so actually get what we are doing. So I'll start off with creating of app.py. Okay. So I'll just create a new file from here and I'll name it as app.py. Okay. So this is the convention that we have been following, and we'll keep following that. Okay. So I'll just close this preview also and open app.py here itself. Okay. I'll just zoom in so that you can see clearly. So how do we create any application with Flask? So there are certain things that we do. That is, we import the required classes and objects, right? So we need this Flask object here. Okay, so this is something that we import. Other than that, there are other things that will require, but I'll import when we need them. Okay, so from Flask import Flask, this is sufficient to create a Flask application object, right? So how do we create that object? We just name it as app and Flask, this is the thing that we have imported, and then we provide underscore underscore name underscore underscore. What does that mean? This means that this so what okay, what do you mean by this underscore underscore name underscore underscore? This actually refers to the name of module. Okay, or whatever Python file we have created, that is what is stored in this variable. Okay, and it is a predefined Python variable which will always refer to the name of the module. Okay, and what we are trying to do, the code that we are going to write in app.py should be considered as a server code, is what we are trying to say with the help of this line.
Sir,
Okay,
name of the module means what? I'm not understanding this underscore.
so underscore underscore name underscore okay, just give me a minute, I'll just comment all this. Okay, and I'll simply do this print. Okay, so let me run this file. So how do we run this file? There are multiple ways. So you can see that I have opened command prompt in the same folder, which means I can run my files from here itself. Okay, so how do I run that? I'll write python app.py. Okay, so what do I get? Main. Okay, so what is this actually? Print. I was trying to print name, but what am I getting? Underscore underscore main. So underscore underscore main refers to the same module. Okay, module meaning this app.py. So this file name. Okay, so this file we have created app.py. So when I try to do this within the same module, it will tell us that the file that you're working on is the current file. Okay, and you're trying to print the module name within the file, so it will be named as like this. Okay, so if I try to print name, it will take this app.py module and print its its actual name. Okay, so this can be seen from other module also, but here we need to understand that here this underscore underscore name underscore underscore refers to the same module that we're working on. Okay, or the name of module.
So So instead we can give app.py also inside the
Instead,
this.
yes, we can give, no, not like app.py, we can give app.
Mm.
Okay, so name of the module.
Sir, is it similar to writing that a self thing means class
Uh,
not init? We write init class, right?
Pretty much, but see, that is on the cell, I mean, on the class level. Okay, this is a modular level. Okay, when we create a class variable, I want to note, I want to denote that I'm trying to create a variable within that class, or I'm trying to create a method within that class, right? So that self refers to a method of a class, right? Similar to this or similar to that, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create, so whatever code I'm going to write here, the Flask at the server end should understand that, okay, I need to follow this code to do the business logic of application, right? So this, this particular line tells that whatever code I'm writing it within app.py has to be considered as server code, and then it refers to that app object that you're going to create. Okay, I mean, it's okay if it is not completely clear. We don't have to, worry about the internal things of this. Okay, as you move ahead, this will become more clear. We are just introducing it, and hence, there will be slight confusions initially. But okay, just bear with me. Later on, when we move ahead with controllers, models, and we create the actual application, these things will become very trivial. Okay, so I'll just not, I'll just remove this print statement now. Okay, now, once the application object is created, we can have multiple routes assigned to this object. Okay, so what is a route? A route is basically a URL. Okay, it kind of tells where you have to go to actually see this part of content. Okay, what do I mean by that? For example, I am in my meet, right? So if I, so you see this URL here, https meet google.com. So I am able to see this meet because I'm going to this endpoint, right? This means when any user or any client goes to this particular endpoint, they will the Flask, not the Flask, sorry, the server will understand what needs to be sent as response. Okay, and how do we how, while creating as developers, how do we specify that? We define these routes. Okay, so basically how do we do that? Let's say I'll write app.route. Okay, so with this statement or with this method, what I'm saying, I want to create a functionality at this particular route register. Okay, and what is that functionality? That functionality will be defined with a method or with a function that is just followed by this line, right? So line number 5, I'm saying I want to define an endpoint or a route called as slash register, and what should happen when a user goes to that register is to be defined in the function below that. Okay, so I'll just write, or I'll just it can be anything. I can name it same as the endpoint itself. It can be anything, but all right, or I can just write user registration just to give you that differentiation. Okay, so this user underscore register is basically name of the function. That's all, nothing else, right? And whatever I define within this function will happen when any user goes to this endpoint. Okay, now what is this endpoint? What is this route? Every time I'm speaking, I'll just come to that. Give me a minute. Okay, I just want to know if till this point are we clear? Is it clear? Any issues? Somebody had raised hand. Yes,
No,
Rohit.
so technical thing is clear. I was just
Hmm.
wondering how to import this Flask thing because it was showing some error.
So what was the error it was showing?
Means it is showing import Flask could not be resolved for first statement.
Is it still happening, or you have resolved it?
No, actually, I was unable to do it. That's why I asked. Because in your screen there is nothing there. That's why.
Okay, so I'll very quickly stop sharing. You can share back and let me know. You can share and share the screen and then show me what is happening. Yeah, Rohit. Yeah. Yeah, are you sharing the screen? I'm not able to see actually. Yeah, now it is coming up.
Is it visible, sir?
Yes, yes.
I was just seeing this error message. How to fix it?
Mm, is Flask installed in your system?
So whatever is in VS Code, that's it.
No, no, no. So you have to install Flask in the system.
Okay.
Okay, what you can do
Is it
is no, no, just do a just hide this that stop sharing anything. Yeah, just hide it.
okay?
Okay, so do you see the terminal? Just go to the terminal.
Yes. Yeah. Sure.
Yes, this Rohit, the mad one. You see the cursor there, right? PowerShell. Okay, can you
Yes, sir.
write pip install Flask here?
Install.
Have you done this before? Flask installing.
No, sir.
Okay, so Flask was not installed. That is the reason. Please wait; it will come up.
So, excuse me, sir.
Yes, Deep.
Sir, I installed the Flask, but I faced same error.
Is it still coming to you now?
Yes, it's coming that the error says that Flask is the required is already satisfied,
Hmm.
but the Flask when I write in a program
Hmm.
Flask import Flask, it doesn't showing that Flask is installed. It's stating that may pylons didn't able to recognize that.
Hmm. Okay. So Rohit, please wait while it is installing. Okay. Then you can continue. Meanwhile, Deep, you can share your screen and show me what is happening.
Sure. Sir, here as you can see,
Wait, wait, wait. The screen is still not shared.
okay,
Hmm.
as you can see here, I already installed it, the
Hmm.
Flask, but
Okay.
still,
Okay. What is the error? Can you show me the error?
sure.
Okay. That underline is what you're saying. Just save it. Save the file.
Saved.
Save. Okay. Now the thing is, where is this tes.py file? Where is it?
Which file, sir? Sorry.
Where you have written this Flask code, right? tes.py.
Yes,
Where is this? I mean, actually, where is it located?
yeah, just a second. Sir. The sir file which is created you are asking about?
Yes, yes, that file.
Sir, I created in desktop. Means like uh,
No, that's
file is
okay, but we should be able to see that file here, right? I mean, we are so in that left pane where you see all the files, right? Desktop and then
okay.
23F.
Just a second, sir. Just give me a
Can you
second.
show me there?
Sure, sir. Here.
Okay, can you run this file now?
Sure.
Just write python tes.py. Yeah, it's working.
Oh, sorry, sir.
See, sometimes what happens, VS Code takes time to load. Okay, so if the
Oh,
Flask is already installed, it will work. So it did not show any error. This means it is working.
oh, okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So can I share my screen for 2 minutes? Like, is
Yeah,
it
sure.
okay?
Yes, you can
Sir,
stop sharing.
where,
Yeah, you were speaking something, Vivek.
yeah, sir, from where I find lab assessment solution?
From your peers. Okay, so lab assignment solution we don't share because there can be multiple solutions to it, right? So you can just approach any of your I mean your fellow students who are
Okay, okay.
have, and then you'll get.
Excuse me, sir. I went to the week 5 lectures on the screen class. So when will there be an open session lectures?
Uh, Deep, you can mute if you're done. Okay. Yeah, Sujal, you were speaking
Oh,
something.
yes, sir. Like when will be the week 5 open sessions or activity sessions? Because I did not understand much of the.
Week 5 next week. So this is the last session for week 4. Next week. So open one activity practice session for week 5 will happen on Wednesday, and we might have one more extra session, as I just said when I started the session. So we might have one more open session for week 5. I mean one more session as an extra session for week 5, and next week itself. Okay, the timing and everything that will be added to your calendar. Saturday we will be having revision session for quiz 1, so we cannot have open session for week 5 on Saturday. Okay, so that
Okay,
session we
sir.
will prepone.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, I have shared my screen.
Yeah. So just save your app.py, Gagmeet.
Sorry, sir, what you said?
Save your file app.py.
Okay, save. Yeah, sir. I have
Yeah,
saved.
now try running it. Python app.py.
I have to write Python.
Yes, Python space app.py.
Okay.
Python. You don't have Python installed, Gagmeet. You have to install Python first.
So the same way, like
No, no,
pip
no.
install Python.
No. Pip is a package manager for Python. You have to manually install it through web. Okay, can you open
Okay,
Chrome?
sir, I got it. Okay. Sir, okay, I will do it then.
Yeah, so you have to install
So,
Python,
hmm?
and then once the Python is installed, pip will also automatically get installed. Okay, then you can install these packages.
Okay, sir.
Meanwhile, if you want to follow back, you can just open Replit and do the same.
Okay.
Okay, this is a web application.
Sir, is there any possibility that we get the list of packages which we need to download beforehand?
Not really. You don't need, because the thing is, we also need to show you how to download these things, right? So with
Okay,
every
okay.
session, we will keep on downloading new things.
Okay, sir. Actually, I thought this was a basic thing. That is why I just asked for
No,
it.
it's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
So we also need to tell you why, what are the dependencies, how do we store this, all these things all the packages that we are creating. Okay. So when we move ahead next session, week 5, we'll be creating things like virtual environment and everything, right? So there we need to know what packages are to be installed and how do we store those packages for using later. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
How to pass image, so that you can that we'll see today. Okay, how to use that, I mean generated image and render it, that we'll see today. Okay, should I continue sharing my screen now? Okay. Okay, can you see this app.py again? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So what we are going to do is, so basically what happens is, if so there are two people. One is a developer of an application, and one is the user of an application. Okay. So for a user of an application, the only thing that matters is the URL. Okay, I mean where I want to go or where I should go to get some data. That's all. Okay, as a user, that is the most that we need to know. Okay, the URL. Okay, but for a developer, it's not all right. For the developer also needs to know, I mean the developer is the one who defines everything, right? So the developer not only should know the URL or should create the URL, but also define with what method. Okay, now what is this method? Methods are basically called as HTTP verbs or HTTP methods. Okay, this kind of these methods define what will happen exactly when a user reaches the web application with a particular URL. Okay, so every URL can have multiple methods, and every method will actually differentiate what particular task should happen. Okay, so I mean, if you have, and then now if you have heard about methods like get and post. So what is get and post doing? Any web page that you visit, any web page, is what is the primary thing it is doing? You go to the URL, and what are you getting? You are getting some information. Okay, you note the words, getting some information. Okay, so the primary goal or the primary objective of an URL is, once the user comes to the URL, the server should send some information or the client should get some information. Okay, so get method basically defines information traveling from server to client. Okay, that is user getting some information. All right. And then if with that logic, what will be post? User sending some information to the server. Okay. Can you tell me a scenario where we send information to a server? How do we send information to the server?
Login password we send.
Yes, right. So form. So whenever, when I started this session, I said the forms are a way of interacting with the web application. Right. So what do I mean by that? Till now, we were only able to see the information that we are getting from the server. Now I want to send some information specific to me to the server. So how do I send? So sending meaning I'm posting the information. So literally post meaning sending the information. Okay. Now if I only tell you that I want to use this URL register, for a client it is okay, but for a developer, is this sufficient? Will the developer understand whether the client is trying to get information from the server or trying to post information from the server on this URL? No, right? So the client needs to not only define the URL, but also need to define what method, what will happen. Okay. And the default method that we use is get, or the default method any browser uses get. Okay. So for example, if I go to any particular URL, www.google.com. So I'm going to that URL with get method. So this is an internal information that only the developer knows. Okay. If I'm sending any information through post, what is happening? The same URL, www.google.com, but the method is post. So at the server need to understand whether I want to send information, whether I need to send the form to the client or process the information coming from the client. Okay, because the URL is same now. So how do server differentiate those two functionalities? One functionality is to actually send a form to get information, and the other functionalities is to process the already gotten information from the form. So these are the two different functionalities that is happening on same URL, right? So to differentiate multiple functionalities happening on a single URL is defined or is separated out with the help of methods. Okay, is this clear? Did you get a good idea of this? Just an idea of this, what is happening?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we'll do now, and what is whose responsibility is this to define all these methods? Developer, right? So when I am on this screen, VS Code, I am the developer of an application. Okay. And when I'm on the browser to check what is happening, I'm the client to that application. Okay. So I'll show you both the sides, and then we'll be able to understand what is happening. Now at this stage, when I'm developing or when I'm creating this functionality, I know that there will be two functionalities I'm doing, right? So one is get information from client. Okay, and what is the second functionality? Send a form to the client, right? Okay, so this is on the developer's end. I just commented. Okay, so this is on the developer's end. Okay, this is developer's end. From the client side, okay, from the client side, I'm just writing it here. From the client side, what will happen? Getting information from the client, meaning the client is sending the information, right? And sending a form to the client, meaning the information is received by the client. Okay. So in client's perspective, we have to define get and the methods, that is the get and the post. If the client is receiving information, it is get method. If the client is sending information, it is post method. Okay, did you get this?
Yes.
Okay, so there are two things that we have to define here. Okay, one is when any person or any user comes to this URL, by default, this particular function should send a form to that user. Okay, it should send a form. Okay, and when the user fills all the information in the form and so clicks on the submit button or send button, then comes the functionality of receiving the information and processing it. Right? These are the two things that we have to do. Okay, and by default, what did I say? By default, browsers use get method. Right? This means by default, if the method is get, every time any user goes to a URL, he or she should be able to receive information. Okay, in this case, what will be the information sent by the server? That form, HTML of a form. Okay, and what is the information processed by the server? The information filled by the client and sent back. Right. So I hope you are getting the flow. Now we'll try to code this. Okay. Now what will happen? I will have to create an HTML form for that. Okay. So that HTML form will be created with the help of HTML. All right. So we'll be creating, let's say, register.html. Okay. Register.html. We are creating an HTML file. Okay. So I'll just create a register.html. Before that, I'll just show you how this works, right? Okay. So when I, let's say, return, okay, I'll just write a simple HTML here, h1. Okay, so what is happening at this point? What is the functionality it is doing? When any user comes to this, it is simply returning this string, this function. Okay, if it was Python, okay, I'm meaning Python, meaning I'm not using Flask or anything. If it was simple Python, how do I run this function?
We
Just
have to call it.
Sorry,
Print statement, right? Print statement.
no, I want to run this function. How do I do that?
We need to call it.
We need to call it, right? I have to do this user registration. I mean user register and call it like this. But the client will not be able to come here within the server code and be able to call it, right? So how do we do that? In case of web application, what is the trigger of this function? This endpoint. Okay. So that is the reason we write the route as well as the function definition just below the route. Okay. So whenever a client goes this, it is equivalent to calling this function. Okay. That is the reason whenever I call this slash register, whatever is defined in the function will start happening. Okay. The function code will run in that. Okay, so let me just save this and show you what is happening. Okay, and obviously everything to run, we'll have to run this application. So I'll just write app.run. Okay, any doubt till this point?
Sir,
Anybody speak?
do we need to define this function? If we don't define this function, then what? Just to write return, will it do? Or we have to write a function in
It has to
this
be a
function?
function. Yes, it has to be a
User,
function. You cannot simply
use,
write return.
no, okay, you cannot write simple return.
See, because if you write it simply and you run app.py, it will keep on executing because ultimately it is a Python file. Right now, what you need to do, you need to define what is happening, the functionality, and then you need to figure out a way to trigger that function. In our case, or in any web application, what is the way to trigger that? The user hitting slash register on URL tag. All right. So this, once we do this app.run and everything, I'll just save this and I'll run this file. Okay. So how do we run this? I'll go back to my this thing, Python console, and then I'll write Python app.py. Okay, so when I do this, it will start running an application. All right, so you don't worry about this, all these things, right? Debug mode off and everything. This will be clear very much when we proceed. All right, so now what is happening? This is what does it say? It is running on HTTP this. So what is this? This is called as base URL of an application. This is called as base URL. Okay, so I will just go back on my browser and I'll type this base URL. Okay, and where have I defined it? Okay, let me.
Slash register.
Sir, you are not audible actually. I think internet is lagging.
Sir, maybe disconnected.
Hello. Sorry, I had a network issue. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what did you miss? Till what point were
So
you
you were
able to?
typing URL, after that your voice wasn't coming.
Okay, one second.
Can you just show the HTML file once? Which thing to run? I just missed it.
Yeah. I just rendered a. I mean, if you just focus on this is an HTML, right? But if you focus on the entire thing, it is just a string from Python, right? Okay.
Sir, can we define many definition after app.route?
Yes, we can. I mean, after app.route meaning, see, when you go to an endpoint and do register, what should happen? What do you think should happen?
Page not found.
No, 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 not that. Okay, leave it. I'll just come
Get
to back.
get
I'll come
method
to
is
your question.
implemented.
Right, right. I'll come to your question. But what I was trying to show you is this. Okay. Were you able to see this, or you lost me
Yes, sir.
before that?
No,
We
sir,
lost.
we were not able to see this.
Okay. All right. So basically, what I did was, I mean, I was just showing that when you go to this register endpoint, I hope you were clear that only slash endpoint would actually mean this complete thing, right? Okay, so this is called as endpoint, and this is the URL, the entire URL. Okay, so the entire URL will remain, some part of it will remain common for the application. It is the endpoint that defines what exactly will happen. Okay, so if I go to this and let's say write anything else, let's say /login, what should happen? A login should happen, but that has to be defined. Currently, it is saying not found because we have not defined any endpoint with the name /login, right? But we have defined a name, an endpoint with the name /register. So what will happen? It will trigger that function just residing below it, right? So when I do that, see, whatever is there in the return of that function will come here. At this point, I'm just trying to return a simple text. Okay, so if you see this, what is this? How do I come to this? I'll just show you again. So you go to inspect, okay, and you go to network, and you see nothing here. Then you have to reload, all right, and then you see the register page, and this is basically the endpoint, register endpoint. So when I click on this, there are few things that needs to be noted. One is, see, the endpoint where it is, I mean the URL where this page is getting fetched from. Okay, the request method, as I said, right? So when you don't mention anything, the default method is get, which is intuitive because you hit any URL to get any information, and this is the information you're getting from the server. Okay, if I go to the response, what did I get? See, I got an HTML, okay, which was actually a string in Python. It was actually returning the string only, but the browser could understand it and render it according to HTML, right? Because by default, browser will try to render HTML only. Okay, so anything that looks like HTML will be rendered. Okay, so if you go back to this, what was returned? A simple string from the Python. Okay, but when it came to browser, HTML, so browser could understand, okay, this looks like an HTML and I think I should render it. And how do I render it? Like the preview. Okay, is this clear?
But this line you have not written .html file, no? Directly in the code, right? Still it is
Yes.
able to the
Yeah. So see, basically, you can return anything you want. I mean, if I remove the HTML code and simply return hello here, what will happen? It will still return that. Okay, but for that, I'll have to close and restart.
And one question is there:
Hmm.
if we fill form and press submit button, it will trigger the get method, right?
That we'll come to that again. Okay, I'm just explaining the get method. Then we'll see what are other methods and what gets triggered when the form.
What is this app.run is useful for? The final app.run you have written.
App.run is actually running this application on the server. So see, what happens is when you do a Python module run, okay, I mean simply run a Python module, what will happen? It will run once, okay, and it's done. But when the server should keep on running this on loop, so that anybody who comes in and try to trigger a function, it should be triggered.
Okay, so we are doing that app.run.
So any web application, any mobile application, any embedded application you create, they will have this component of looping. So the server code keeps on running on loop. Okay, so that's what is happening in web application. When you go to create any application that is installable in the system, you will see a very similar thing called as app.loop, right? So these are all nomenclatures, but underlying principle is the code, the server code that we're defining should be active every time, because we don't know when any client or user comes in and tries to trigger a function, right? So they run on loop.
Sir, how did you get this URL thing?
Which URL?
This 127 point IP address.
No, so see, any Flask application, I mean, let me just try to break this down. Okay, so any URL has this something called as protocol. Okay, first thing. Okay, second thing, it has the IP address of system. API, this is the IP address of the server machine.
That's true, sir. I mean, I was just meaning to ask that how did you derive this? I mean, I was not able to find this when I ran the code.
No, by default, it will run. So that's what I'm trying to come to, right? So then there is a port, okay, and then there is endpoint. And then there is endpoint. Okay, and then there is okay, and there is something called as query parameters, which will come to later. Okay, so this is in general breakdown of a URL. Okay, so protocol, when you are developing, one second, I am still in the call, right? Yeah. So when you are developing, it will be, I mean, we are the web that we are working on will work on this protocol only. So this is coming by default. Okay. When you are developing anything in your local machine in a development environment, this will be the address taken by the machine. This is called as local address or the address of local machine. Okay. This is also called as local host. Okay. Now the same machine is capable of handling multiple applications, right? And therefore, to differentiate which application we are talking about, there is something called as port. So the 5000 is a default port of Flask. Every Flask application by default will run on this port. Then comes register, which we have defined. So if you see in the entire URL, we only have to define the endpoint, nothing else. Okay. When you run this, you see that by default, it says, okay, it is running on this. Right. So
Okay, yes,
this
sir.
came by default, and slash register is something that I defined. Okay. Is this clear?
Yes, sir, clear. So we have to change only the register part,
Yes,
else
yes.
everything is same. Okay.
Right. Change meaning basically we have to define the endpoints only. I mean, if I go to register, what should happen? If I go to login, what should happen? If I go to exit, what should happen? If I go to log out, what should happen? Right? If I go to home, what should happen? So all these things again, I mean, whichever names I've spoken are all random names I've taken. Right? You can create any endpoint that you want. What you have to do is simply go to this part and replace it. Okay, but generally endpoints have to be intuitive because you are a developer, you know what will happen. Even if I write my own name here, I know what is happening in the code, but the client, the one who is using this application, will never know that if to get a register page or to get a form, which URL I should go, right? But if I give an intuitive name like register, it becomes pretty clear that okay, register page is something that I'm expecting with this URL. Okay. Generally, endpoints are kept intuitive. I'll just comment these
Sir,
things.
before this app.run, there was a statement. There was a statement if name equal to name. That what does that mean?
That will come to later. That is not required as of now. Okay, if name equals to main is something that is not as of now required because we have only one file. When we work with multiple files, we will need that. And when we use multiple files, when we add models and other things, then I will definitely explain it. Okay, so at this point you need to focus on, okay, so if you see this, I have just returned hello instead of that, right? So it could understand that, okay, it is just a simple text. I'll have to reload it. I mean, not this. Yeah. So this is just a simple response, right? Whatever came in is understood by the browser and rendered. For now, there is no HTML. This is only simple text. So browser can also render simple text. All right. If I write anything in the form of HTML, browser will understand that it is HTML and it will start rendering it. Okay. So the moment I do this, okay, for Python, it is still the string. Okay. This is still the string. It does not have any sense here. But when you go to the browser, and reload this, the moment it is done, it understands that okay, now there is something HTML which I think I should work with, right? So the browser will understand that h1 has its own meaning and I need to render it according to h1 rule of HTML. Okay, so is this fine? Okay, so now there is one problem, right? Every change I made, what do I have to do? I have to go back to my console, close my application, see the application is now closed, and then rerun it. All right. So every time I make any change in my application, I have to close the application, okay, and then rerun it so that the changes are incorporated, which is very annoying because I have to do it again and again. Okay, so what do we do for that? We just write debug equals to, and then we set it to true. Okay, so when I save this, the problem is gone, right? I mean, just to get this incorporated, I have to once again close it at least for once. Now, if I run this, the debug is activated. Now, do you see the difference between this line? Okay, when it was previously running, it says debug mode off, but now when this is running again, it says debug mode on. Okay, what does that mean? I'll show you here. Okay, so this prompt I've kept a command prompt I've kept open here, and this file I've kept open here. right? So the moment I change this hello to hello world and save my file in the on the VS Code, you see it has started running again. So it incorporates the changes by itself. Okay, and the only thing that I have to do is reload. Okay, so I don't have to close my application, rerun it, and see if the changes are incorporated. Okay, that is the use of debug equals to true. Okay, is this clear?
Sir, does normal refresh doesn't work when we activate debug?
Normal refresh mean?
When we don't
No,
activate
it does not work because see the code that is sent. I mean, the code that is working as the server code does not have that changes incorporated, right? We are only making changes in the app.py, but the app.py which is actually running, this one, serving Flask app, when it is started running, the code, the copy of the code is created by the Flask and runs that. So if the debug mode is off and I make any change here, that change is not happening in the server code. Okay. So basically what happens when I do an app.run, when I do this Python app.py, a copy of this code is created and sent as a server code. Okay. So the prompt starts running that code. And if I make changes here and save it, that saving is only happening in this local code. Okay. The code is which is there with the VS code or in the system. It is not running. So for the changes to get incorporated, I have to close the server, then restart the server so that it then fetches the most recent code and then start running. Okay, which is a very tedious task. So the only way of making it work is we have this debug mode on. This is the 50% or what we call one out of two major important thing what debug mode does. Okay, the other thing we'll see later. Is this clear?
Yes, sir. Completely clear.
Okay, so I'll again minimize this and increase this, the size of this. Okay, now let us make something more intuitive. That is, register should give me that. So if I return anything, it will be there. I mean, it will come on the browser when I go to this register endpoint, right? This means if I return a form here, it will try to render that form for me. Okay, but adding a complete form here, I mean, just that, if you see the entire form code, HTML, then HTML head, HTML body, then we have all the components of form, all those things. This will make very bulky, right? I mean, the entire Python code will become very bulky, taking multiple lines. Okay, so we don't want to have that. For smaller return statement like hello world, hello from the server, all these things, one line code, it is okay. But what if you want to return an HTML file which is, let's say, 100 lines long? So you cannot keep on writing the HTML inside the Python, right? I hope you're getting this. So a better way of doing that is we actually take it from outside and render the file. Okay, and taking it from outside meaning we write our entire HTML code in a proper HTML file, and then while returning we render that HTML file. Okay, so same thing I'll do here. I'll create register.html. Okay, and I'll write a HTML code. So you see, even the boilerplate is 11 lines long, right? And this is unnecessary coding if we try to code it here. Unnecessary bulking my Python file, right? So I don't want to do that. There is a reason I want to, keep. This is what is called as separation of concerns. You create your Python code or server code and keep it in Python file. You create your HTML file, keep it in HTML file, right? HTML code in HTML file. Now in the body, I'll write multiple things. Let's say h1. Okay, and then let's say this is the entire code. Okay, so you see this is 25 lines code. If I save this or if I try to write it here, it will unnecessarily block a lot of lot of space on my page. So what do? I write it in register.html and keep it confined there itself. Okay, and then try to render that HTML file from here. Okay, so what I'll write, I'll use something called as render template, which is a defined method in Flask. Okay, and then I add register.html. Okay, so you can see that the entire code, that 15, 25, how many? 25, 26 line code can now be settled with just one line. Render template, and what is the template? Register.html. That's all. Right? So this is how my Flask methods help me. But since I'm using this has to be imported, right? So I have to import it from here. That is the reason when I said, whenever we need this, I'll keep on importing. Okay, so this is something that is given by Flask, defined in Flask. So I'll import it and use it here. Okay.
So does
Now there is,
Flask not include render template?
it includes, but I have to import now. Whichever things I'm including, I have to import. So I have not imported Flask. From Flask, I've only imported Flask here, Flask object. Okay. So when I use from Flask, I need to explicitly import whatever I want to import. Okay. When I simply do this, import Flask, then it is okay. But then what I'll have to do? I'll have to write something like this.
Okay.
Right. So, and that will also unnecessarily bulk my code because Flask has so many methods defined. We don't want to import each and everything.
So if you write from Flask, import star, no?
From Flask, if we write import Flask, only this,
Import
whichever I
star,
mentioned.
import star.
Import what?
Star.
That's what, no, it is as, I mean, it is similar to this only, no? Import
You have to
Flask.
write each method.
Yes, we have to either see, one thing is we have to write each method with mention of Flask dot, right? One thing. Second thing is Flask has, apart from these 2 and 3, 4 methods that we are going to use, Flask has a lot of other methods defined which will get imported and bulk my code, which will increase the processing time. So I don't want to do that. I just want to import whatever is necessary. Okay, I'll need Flask, I've imported that. Now I need render template, I imported that. Later on, I'll need request, I'll import that. That's all. Right. So I'll import whatever I need. Okay, now there is a small problem with this. Everything seems perfect, but when I try to run this, see what happens. Okay, so ideally it should give me that long hello world 1, 15, 16 lines, right? So, but just see what it shows. Okay, did I not run my application? Yeah. Okay, it will take some time. 1 second. Let me close this. Yeah, now it is restarting. Let me reload. Yeah. So there is an issue, right? What I said, there will be a small issue with this. What does it say? It does not find this register.html template, which is there, right? It was there already. It is there in my folder. But what is the issue? What is it trying to do? Flask by default tries to search for whatever file I'm trying to render. It tries to search for these files in a folder called templates. Okay, so what it will do, the Flask that is residing in my system, it will search for folder called templates, and then within that folder, it will try to search this register.html. If it does not find that templates folder, doesn't matter if I have register.html, it will say template not found. Okay, so what is the workaround for that, or what is the solution for that? We create this templates folder. Okay, and then we paste this or we move this register file in my templates folder. Okay, so now I can see that my register.html is in templates folder. And now when I reload this, I can see the file coming up. Right?
So this
So,
templates is by default it will search for templates folder.
Right.
Oh, okay.
By default, it will work. I mean, it will start looking for the templates folder. If it does not find that templates folder, it will give error.
So this app.py templates folder, everything is by default.
Yes. I mean, app.py is there, which we created, but
Okay.
templates folder is something that is a structure that Flask follows.
Okay.
Okay. Can we change it? Yes. Should we do it? No. Okay. Leave it as is.
Okay.
All right. So now you can see that I have very minimal code written here, but I can still do the same functionality, writing hello one or a large HTML file just getting returned with 1 line. Okay. So if this is possible, instead of returning this hello one multiple times, can I render a proper form here? Can I create a proper form here and start rendering it? Definitely. And that is what we are going to do now. Right. So I'll first change this title to register form. Okay, now we'll create a form. Oh, sorry, what I did. So we'll just create a form. Okay, the moment I write form and hit enter, you see that there is an attribute that came by default, that is action. Okay, what is this attribute? We'll see in a bit. But okay, let us define the different inputs of form. Okay, so what do you think we should take for a registration of student?
Their name.
Yeah, so I'll keep on writing this. We'll take the name. Okay, we'll not take the username or we don't take the roll number, but we'll take name. We will take their gender. Okay, we will take
Age.
their Yes, age will take their qualification. Okay, and we will also take what paper they want to give, right? To gate will have multiple subjects, so we will write the stream, which stream they want to work with, right? And so you can see that this name is a simple text input. Okay, we'll also define what type of input there. It is a simple text. Okay, it is a text input. Gender, it can be, I mean, it is optional, right? So you have either male, female, or let's say others. So we will, this is like MCQ, right? This is MCQ. Age is a number. Okay, qualification, I mean, it is again a text. All right, stream again is coming from the options. Okay, so I mean, gate will provide certain streams. A user cannot input any stream from his will, right? So I cannot give gate in let's say MBBS, right? So that is not possible. So there should be some available streams that gate exam provides, and that only we should be able to select from. Okay, and then let's say we'll take the address also. So address is long, right? So it can be a text area. So I've typed it and it is taken, right? So it can be a text area. So you can see these are different form inputs, different forms of form input. There can be multiple others also, like date, time, but we don't need those as of now. And once once we understand how these are written, you can understand any other also. Okay, so we'll not jump onto each and every, but I think this is something that we can at least work on as of now. Okay, so first we'll create a text input that takes name. Okay, I'll just remove it from here and copy it here and comment it. Okay, and I'll come to this action attribute in some time, but what we have to do is first we have to create input. So the moment I write input, by default it will take a text input. Okay, text input. By default it will take text input. We have to change the type of input to actually get it ready. Okay, and then with every input there is something called as label. Okay, which actually stands for which actually shows what that input is for to the client. Okay, what do I mean by that is this. Okay, so let's say I write name and input, that's all, right? So this is kind of a label, but HTML has a better way of doing things with label called as label tag. Okay, so you can see the difference how this is not as efficient as in label tag, but I'll directly jump onto label. All right, so what I'll do, I'll write label. Okay, so again you can see there is one default attribute that is for. Okay, and which is intuitive because I want to know for which input I'm trying to create label, because in a form there will be multiple inputs, right? I'm still in the call, right? So in the form, there will be multiple inputs. So I need to map any label, any particular label for that particular input, right? This means what I'll have to do, I need to give ID. How do I, give how do I give what do we say, individuality to any particular element? By giving it an ID, right? How do I make element specific? By giving it an ID, right? So I'll just give it an ID. Let's say username. Or let's say name. Okay, why to go that much? Or let's say student name. Okay, student name. This means the ID of this input tag is student name. Okay, and what is for? So what does this mean? If I try to read it in statement, what does it mean? I'm trying to create label for a particular input. Now, how do I identify that input? I'll have to write the same ID. Sorry, not cut. I'll have to write the same ID here. Okay, so this label understands this input from its ID. Okay, so I'm trying to create a label for this input tag is what is understood from these two lines. Okay, any confusion in these two lines? And what is the label actually stands for? That name that I've written will actually come here. Content of label is the actual, the text of the label. Did you get this? Okay, let us see how it looks. I'll just save this. Okay, I'll just save this, and then when I go to document and reload this, I should be able to see a form. Let me zoom it. Okay, can you see this? So when now what is label doing? See, the moment I click on name, it will highlight where I should put the input. right? That would not have been possible if I had simply written name and left it there itself, right? I mean, instead of label tag, if I had simply written name and left it there itself, this selection of input would not have happened, right? The moment I click on name, it selects where I should type, and it gives that cursor and everything. Okay, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
All right, so similar to this, I'll create a label for every input I am going to create. Okay, now there is one more thing, that is one more attribute that comes here that I'll come to in some time. Okay, so this is input label for student name. What is the next thing that we are going to take? Gender. Okay, so I'll first create input. Okay, by default it takes type text. One second. Yeah, okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this gender, right? And gender was MCQ. So MCQ, basically what you do, there is 3 points, right? Male, female, and others. So I need to be able to select one. So what I'll do it, type radio. So what does that mean? So it will be taking a radio button. Okay, a radio button, meaning, I mean, that select, right? You click on that button, it will come. Very similar to the options that you have in paper, right? So the input button is radio, and then I think what we have to do is we'll have to add uh, same thing we'll do. We will add this thing ID to it. Radio 1, or let's say male, and we'll create a label for it. Radio 1, right? And this is okay. This is clear. Now there is one thing. If I click on that radio, how will it come to know that I have to take value male? How will it come to know? Right? That is the problem. So what I have to do, I'll have to write value also. Okay, and the value will be male. Okay, so that value male will get assigned wherever I click on that particular button. Okay, when I do that, I'll show you. It will be better to understand. Okay, so we need 3 of these, right? So I'll just copy it 3 times. Email, or we don't need this hyphen. Let's say others. Okay, and then I'll change this radio 1 to radio 2. This radio 1 to radio 3, and the value will also change, right? Email and other. Okay, let's see how it looks. Right, male, female, others. So you can see that I don't have to do anything, right? The moment I'm making changes and saving HTML, I just have to reload it. Okay, so the server is taking care of everything. Okay, that debug mode on is taking care of everything. I don't have to keep on rewriting the code, close the server, save it again, and then run the Python server again. I don't have to do that. Okay, and so you see these buttons, right? So the moment I click this, like this, all right.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
sir.
Hmm.
I'm sorry to disturb at this point, but the site is giving an error that it is refusing to connect. I mean, since 5 minutes, last 5 minutes.
Which one?
But this the site which we are viewing right now, and when I'm
This.
running this parallelly in my computer, it is showing it is refused to connect. Means initially it was showing the same outputs that you are showing, but for last 5 minutes it was showing refused to connect. I don't know what the error is.
Okay.
I
One
will
second.
just
You
write
can.
the code, and then afterwards, if there's time, I will share the screen because it is not disappearing, and the I'm not able to see the output.
Okay. So did you? Is this? I mean, are you trying to create any other application trying to run any other application with the same URL? Is it happening? Maybe from the other sessions or
No,
something and still working.
no, sir.
It is possible.
I'm use this register directory is only. I have made it only for this session.
Okay.
And
All
earlier
right.
it
And
was showing the same outputs which you were showing to us, and now it is showing there is some error we can't open like that.
it's okay. We'll see. All right. If it is
Okay.
possible, you can share now. No issues with that. I will see
No, I
very
can
quickly.
share, but class gets interrupted. That's why I was just hesitant. You just complete it,
Okay.
and then I will show entirely what is the
Yeah,
problem.
sure. So you can see, you can write the HTML along with me, and later on you can
Yeah, sir,
test
I'm
it.
writing.
Yeah. All right. I'll get that. Okay, you can see that it is coming. Okay, but what is the problem? Is anybody see the problem here?
Sir, you're asking, okay. All the three radio buttons have been selected, no?
Yeah, all the three video buttons are getting clicked, and they don't have an individuality. I mean, if I click on male, it should not allow me others. Like if I click on female, it should shift from male to female, right? That is not happening, right? So we'll make that change. I'll come to that again later. Okay. Now we are done with this. We're done with this. Now we'll add age. Okay. So age is pretty simple. I'll write a label first. Okay. I'll create age. Okay, and write age. Okay. This is fine. And now here I'll write input. So I know by default it will take text, but this text has to be changed into number. Okay, this text has to change into number. So if I save this and refresh it, I get okay. Label thing I did not. Okay, what I did not label for A. Yeah. So this for actually represents ID, right? So I have to mention the same ID here. Okay. Then we save it. So now we know that age. Okay, it came here. Okay, fine. So what do I do? I'll just add a BR tag here and save it. BR means it breaks. All right. So now my age is below. Okay. Now there is one thing to observe. When I go to name, it simply selects, right? And I can type whatever name I have. When I go to age, you see that up and down arrow. So it allows me to increase the number in integer format. Okay. Increase or decrease. So I can even go in negative. Okay, but age is not negative, so that I mean that validation we can have, but that as of now that is not required. I just wanted you to, understand what this number input is. Okay, we'll obviously make this more better in looking, but at this stage we just need to know what these inputs are. Okay, so we're now done with age. Then qualification is again, if qualification is text, I can very easily copy it from here. Sorry. Okay, so instead of the student name and everything, I just write. And it was text only, right? So it's okay. We'll save this and see if it is to that. Okay, so this now we will be selecting a string. Okay, so strings again options, right? But the
Sir,
the
your
thing
voice
is
is
here
breaking.
there are also options. Okay, network glitch
Sir,
is
your
being.
voice is breaking.
No, no, sir.
Okay, one second. Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so should I continue? Can you see the screen? It is being shared, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you can see how I added the qualification thing, right? All right. Now we'll go to stream. So what is stream? Stream is basically, so see, if you see this gender, it has male, female, other. So this is also options, and the stream, this is also options. Okay. But what is the difference between this and this? This, all the options were visible here, and you can select from here, right? But in the stream, I want the options to come and drop down, and I should be able to select from one from them. Okay. So how do we create that? Let me just show it here. We add BR tag. I am audible, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. So we create a BR tag just to get it in the next line. Then we will create select. This is not coming from that option input now. We'll have to use another tag called as select. Okay. We'll leave this name as of now. We'll give it ID and give a label to it. Label for stream. Okay, and then in the ID also I'll have to add stream. So basically you need to only understand one thing. The value of for and ID should be exactly same. Okay, and within this stream, within this select, I have to give everything as option. Okay, option. So let's say we'll give multiple streams here: electrical, computer science. Okay, then data science. It is now there, AI and data science. Okay, then we have electronics. I mean, I think there are 30 plus papers. We're not going to write all of those. Okay, electronics and let's say biotechnology.
Sir, whatever you are writing is not reflecting.
Where?
Lagging, I think. Your connection is lagging, so.
Can you not see my screen?
It's visible. Maybe it's lagging a little bit.
Can you see the VS Code now?
Yeah.
Sir, you wrote only
No,
stream, right?
It's visible.
it's visible, but I think
Yes,
it's
I
lag.
wrote.
Up to biotechnology, I can able to see.
Yeah, that's what I've written.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, all right. These are the things that we have now. I just save it. Okay, and you can see there is this value option attribute coming from from default, right? So it is very similar to this. Here also I'll add same values. I mean, what I've written in the text, actual content of the tag, I'll write here everything here. Okay, how we are going to use this value, I'll show later. After we are done with all the streams, I mean all the fields of a form. After we're done with that, I'll show you what is missing here. Okay, now I'll save it. Okay, now can you see the browser screen?
Yes, sir.
I'll refresh it, and now I can see okay, label is not working. Why is it? Okay, I've not written anything, right? So it is stream. Okay, so stream electrical, but now you see it is a drop down, right? With whatever I've added as values.
Sir, I am able to see your VS Code. Browser is not visible.
Why
Now
Yes,
it's
sir. That thing is also happening to me also.
Maybe disconnect and join, I think. I also did that.
there is some lag, I guess. Yeah, I definitely have a poor connection. I agree. But if others can see the screen, I think
Yeah,
you
it's
just have
visible.
to.
It's visible, sir.
Yeah, it's
now it's visible, sir.
Okay. All right. So can you, okay, you could see the VS code, right? So you did not miss the important
yes.
part, but you can see the preview here, right? So what is the difference between this and this? Here it is coming as drop down, and here everything is visible. All the options are visible. So you have to make that choice whether you want radio buttons or this. Okay. And obviously These radio buttons and everything are recommended when you have 1, 2, 3, 4, at the max 4 to 5 choices. But you can see, although I have added here 5 choices, we can have multiple, more than 10, more than 15. So you cannot have all radio buttons, right? It will take a lot of space in your form. So what we will do, we'll create everything as drop down. Okay, so that is the difference between this select and radio, type radio, right? So that is the difference. All right, and the final thing that is left is address, right? So that will create now, and that I said will be created by text area. So we'll create a label, just we are doing for everything. So I'll just add a BR tag here for it to come to new line. Okay, and then I'll write address for address, and then the value also address. Sorry. Okay, and then below this I will actually add the input. So it is actually a text area. Okay, and the ID for that is exactly same value what we have given in for. Right, so let us see what is the difference between text area and normal input. Okay, so you see that it is now, taking a long area where you can type in, and there is one more thing that you can expand it. Okay, and what I'll do, I'll add one BR tag here also, so that it comes, so the address comes above, that word address comes above my actual address. All right, is the screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so okay, and I'll add one more BR tag here also, just below the radio. Okay, and I'll add after every this thing.
Sir, what BR tag does?
It breaks the line and takes everything after that into the next line. Okay, so if I add a BR tag here, everything after this BR tag will come in next line. Okay, although BR tag is not the most efficient way of creating things, but I'm just using. So you can see now these things are coming one below the other. Okay,
Sorry,
now
I
there is a
missed the
problem.
address part. Can you show the code?
Yeah, it is a text area, so I've added a label just as we were doing, and instead of input I added a text area. So this is one of the element, right? These things are by default. You can change this. If you want a larger area to appear by default, you can add, increase the columns, increase the rows. Okay, that the only thing I did was I created a text area of input element, and then I added address because I wanted to link it with this label. Okay, that's all I did.
And you have left a name is equal to empty. What is that? Select name.
I'll come to that.
Okay.
See, there is, there is no other field where I've used name, right? That I have to use. But what is the use of it? We'll come to that. If I add everything here, the meaning will not, come very, the use of everything will not come differentiatively. All right. So this is my form. There is one small problem here. I want this radio to appear after, right? So what we can do now, we can just add a label below. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, wait. So we don't need this BR tag here. We need it after label. Sorry. Better, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, once this is done, I think this is clear. So I'll close this. Once this is done, I enter all my information here. Now, the next thing that I need to do is submit this information, right? Send this information to the server. So for that, I need a button here. Okay. So actually a submit is also an input, but of the type submit. Okay. So it actually creates a button. Okay. So what I'll do, just like that, I'll add a BR tag so that my submit button comes below, and I'll add another input. Okay. But the type will not be text now. The type will be submit. Okay. So when I do this and save it, it will create a button called submit. Okay. So what will happen when I add all this information and click on submit, all this information will go to the server, and the post processing will happen. Okay. So this is about the form, but there are certain things that that this form is missing, which are very important. Okay, so I'm adding things here, right? I'm adding my name here, selecting the gender, age, and qualification, everything. So this, but how are these values going to get assigned? Where are these values going to get assigned? Right? For example, if I write my name, let's say the here I write my name as Adarsh. Okay, this is the value, but to what variable it will get assigned? This I have to specifically mention. Okay, if I write, say, if I select male, to what variable this value male will get assigned, that I have to select. All right, that I have to specifically mention in the form. Right, this is just a label which is shown on the HTML. This has nothing to do with the backend. Okay, this is just for the client, but for the server, the information that I'm adding, the values that I'm adding should actually get assigned to variables and then go to the browser, right? Then go to the server. For example, when I'm in app.py in Python, how do I create a variable? I just create a variable like this, name, and then give my name as string, right? So this value other should get assigned to this value name. This is the variable I've created, right? So HTML also have to specify that this is the variable that should store the value name, what value this others. Okay, and that is specified by this attribute called as name. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll add name attribute here. Okay, it is a defined HTML attribute name which will take name. Anything, I can write username also, I can write student name also. I'll just write student name, stud_name. Okay, just for, so this is my variable name that I'm going to create, and whatever value I add in the form, let's say my name Adarsh, will get assigned to this name. Okay, I'll show you this if this is not clear, but just bear with me for a minute. Okay, now here in radio button, the variable will remain gender. Okay, but any one value of it will be assigned to that gender. Okay, not all will be assigned, any one. This means the name attribute of all these things will remain same. Okay, what I'm meaning, what I'm trying to say is this. Okay, so my variable is gender, but the value can be male, can be female, can be other. This means I have to add all this, I mean this attribute in all where I want to take that value as variable. Okay, gender means any of it will come as name. Okay, I'll show you how this works, but let me just write everything. Similarly, this name attribute will be age. Okay, so I'm creating a variable called age, and whatever number I add in the form will be assigned to this age. Okay, similarly, input tag, call, not call. Okay, again, just as radio button, any one of these values will be getting assigned to stream. So what do we have to do? This means the name attribute will be stream. By default, it had this name, so I'm just using it. So what will happen if any one of this I select, that variable, that value will be assigned to this variable called stream. Okay. If you're not getting this clearly, just wait for a minute and I'll show. Okay. Here I'll write address. So you can see the ID value is also address, form is also address, name is also address. That is absolutely fine. That is not an issue. Okay. But this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create a variable called as address, and whatever value I put will be assigned to this variable. All right. This is type submit. Okay. So this is one change that I wanted to do. And another change is, how do I make sure that this data will go to that particular endpoint only, right? I mean, I've created this register/register endpoint, but how do I make sure that when I click on submit, my data will come back to this endpoint only, right? How do I make sure about that? So for that, we have this action attribute, right? Remember when I created this form, this action attribute got created by default. So here I have to mention that you should come here. Okay, this means when all the information is added and I click on submit, this form will hit this endpoint. Okay, or it will trigger the definition, whatever is coming within this endpoint. And generally what is happening, there is one last thing that is happening here. All this information is going from client to server or server to client.
Client to server.
Client to server, meaning we are posting information. So we also have to specify with what method we are doing this. So if you are posting, the method will remain post, will become post. Okay. So what did I do? After the form, I added one by one. Very quickly, I added three important things. That is the name attribute. It defines the variable name and the value will come inside it. Second thing is action. Action attribute refers to what endpoint you want to go, and method attribute refers to with what method you will go. Okay. One important information: every time for any form, the method will remain post. You don't have to change this. Okay. Now let me save this and show you what is happening. Okay. So my register form, there is no change, but now you can see when I select on male and then when I select on female, that male thing is gone, right? So this is because of that value attribute, that name attribute it is coming, right? Others are deselected, others is selected. Okay. So when I go to mail, so this is working fine. Okay. Now what will happen when I submit this form? So let us show you these things again. Okay. So first thing, when I go to this endpoint, by default, what will be the method? Get. This means I'll get a form. Okay. So you can see headers, I'll get a form. So it is a get method. Same register URL, sorry, request URL is this /register, method is get, and it is successfully retrieved. This means the status code is 200. Okay. Okay. Now let us try to put some information here. Okay. Not my real age. Qualification electrical. Okay. Stream electrical. I'll keep electrical. Okay. So this is my address. Okay. So the moment I submit, it shows method not allowed. Don't worry about the response, but do you see this thing here? Okay. So we have to make sure of that. Okay. 1 second. Give me a minute. So what is it saying? Method not allowed, right? Method not allowed meaning, what did I say? When the default methods are get, this means the post method is not allowed, right? So I have to make sure that this endpoints take post method. So what I'll do, I'll have to explicitly mention what methods I want to work with. Get and post, because with get method, I'll get the form. With post method, I'll be able to send that form to the server. Okay. This is one thing. And now what I'll do, I'll add, I have still not shown what is that name variable doing. Okay. But don't worry about it as of now. I wanted to show you the post method, but before that, I'll come to this payload. Do you see this payload? So let's say when we were in register page, there was no payload, right? But when we posted the information, there is this payload. So when I go to payload, see what is here. This is important. Stud name, gender, age. Where is this coming from? That name attribute we have created in form. Okay, is this clear now? What is the use of name attribute?
Yeah.
Okay, is it clear to everyone? Any doubt here?
Sir, this
Yes.
post and get in HTML you wrote in small letters, and in the Python script you wrote in capital letters. Does it matter?
No, it does not matter. But generally, conventionally, in Python we have to write it in capital. In HTML you have to write it in small. I mean, it will not affect if you in the register you write this as capital, but conventionally you have to small. The moment you put a cursor, it shows corresponds to the post method, and the post is capital there, right? It does not matter. Okay, now let us try to.
So in Python,
Yeah.
Python also we can write it in small letters. Python.
No, Python capital only. In HTML, it can be smaller capital. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So this I've added is this in capital. So in Python, it has to remain capital, but in HTML, it can be capital or small. But it is recommended to keep things small in HTML. Okay. So now I will make sure that this error goes. Okay. Now what is this doing actually? This is telling this particular endpoint that it is capable of accepting get method and post method. Okay, so I'll just save it and try to reload. Okay, reload. Okay, let me just clear everything from here just to remove the confusion and reload this. So I get this register page with get okay, so it is coming with post method now. Okay, 1 second, let me just reload this. Yeah, so now the method is get. Okay, there is no payload. All right, now payload meaning the data that is going to go to the server. Okay, so I can very quickly add these values now. See, although I have numbers, I can manually, I mean directly add here. Okay, it shows the cursor.
So it is showing the last entered value also. So it is giving a
That was from the
suggestion as
previous
to.
request. No, that is from the previous request.
Okay.
Okay, so I submit and then I go to register. See, now it did not show method not allowed, right? Because we made sure that both get and post methods are allowed. Okay, now I can go to payload and see the same thing is there, right? And address is updated obviously because I've added ABC instead of that XYZ plot. Right? So the payload is this. This is the data that will go to server. And how are we making sure that it is going to server? With this method post. Okay, so request method is post. Why? Because in the form we have mentioned that it is post here, right? And the endpoint is same. So if you go back to that browser and you go to this first one, you see the endpoint URL remains same here and the URL same here. In both the cases, the URL is same. So how will the controller or how will the application app.py is able to understand what I have to do with the help of this? If the method is post, do this. If the method is get, do that. Right? By default, it will do what is defined in get. Okay. So accordingly, we'll code that. Okay. So now what we'll do? We'll go to app.py. See, it could return render template with get method because by default it is get method, but post method is not by default. So we have to check. What I'll do, if request dot method equals to post. Okay, so we have to check if the method of request that is being sent to this endpoint, is it get or post. If it is get, it can directly return this. If it is post, it will go inside this if block and do whatever is done with the if. Okay, so I'll simply now write okay, so this is what it is going to return just to make sure that the post method is working. Okay, but what's the problem? The problem is this request. As of this request, the device doesn't know what this request is. So this has to be imported from Flask explicitly. Okay, so the moment I import request, now that request has meaning. Okay, now I'll again change this. Okay, so I think which one is the latest? This one, right? So get method. I'll add my credentials once again very quickly. This time we'll do computer science. And 1, 2, 3. Address can be anything, can be any description. Okay, and then the moment I do submit, you see that the post method is triggered, right? This thing remains same, right? That payload and everything we got. See, 1, 2, 3, computer science. So data is getting to the server. It's not that, I mean, it's just that we are not dealing with that data as of now. But we can trigger post method, right? And in the headers also, you can see the method is post. So what has happened? First, when I went to this endpoint, it will check whether the method was post or not. Initially, the method is not post, it is get. So it will drop this entire if block. Then it will simply return this request register.html form that I got with get method, right? Then when I fill the register.html form and click on submit, what happened? It went to same URL, but the method now became post. So it goes to this function definition, check whether the method is post or not. Now it is post. This means it will go inside. It will not go ahead. Okay. And when I do return, the loop is broken already. So it will not come back and proceed. Right. So the moment I start getting data from post, I'm sure that, okay, so data, the post method is now triggered successfully. Now I have to make sure that the data is sent to the server is used properly. Okay. So that we will do within this post method or post block, if block of post. Okay. Is this clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Clear. No? Are you getting the flow? How things are
Yeah.
getting get
Sir,
method?
initially the method was get, so it went to return render template. And
Yes.
once you fill the form, the method became post. That is why it went into the if method and then it returned whatever you told it.
Yes, you
Is
got
it right?
yes, that's what.
Okay.
So I mean, just to verify that the method post was getting awake, I just wrote random text. Now we will make sense to it, right? So now we will deal with the data that we are getting from the form. Okay, so how do we use that data? We will create simple variables. So it started off with name. So I'll just create a variable name and assign the data from the request, right? From the request that the user sent to the server. Okay, so here I got request. So what I'll do, request dot form dot get, and within the get what will I write? That name attribute, that variable attribute, these things one by one, right? So initially it is stud underscore name. Okay, then what is the other thing? I think it's, I'm not sure, gender. Request dot form dot get, I think it is named as gender only. Okay, then age equals to request dot form dot get age, right? I mean, these are all the values of name attribute, right? So these has to be added in double quotes.
One doubt I have. In this post, if we write return render template, will it not go there and get everything by submitting? Will it not go to server? No, that won't happen. Why are we doing it again in Python here?
No, see, render template will only register the form, right? So when you again do the render template, it will again register, give you the form. Yeah, we can use render template, but we will be rendering another template, right? Which makes use of this data.
Okay, because I thought the method is post, now it won't get the things from the client. That won't happen.
No. See,
The
register.html does
second
not
time
have to do
when you
anything with
do
what the
render
method is.
template, I thought
The
that.
post is the content of register.html. Yes. So when I do render template, again, it does not matter. Even if I do render template register.html, it will still give me the same form. Okay. So the
Okay.
method post within the form does not have anything to do with what we are rendering. Render template only makes sure that, okay, this is the template, this is what I have to render.
Okay.
Okay.
So one question, suppose we have more than one form in one template, what will happen? Because we are writing request.form.get. So if we have more than one form in the template, then which one it will get?
Basically, that is, I mean, we don't have one form, right? I mean, we don't do one form, more than one form. If we have to
Okay.
manipulate the template in that way. Okay.
Okay,
See,
okay.
one thing is, see, it depends on multiple things, right? So when let me go to that form, register.html. See, every form has its own submit button. First thing. Okay. So what, and it has its own action attribute also.
Okay,
So if you
okay.
create another form and click on submit of that form, it will go to action attribute of that form,
Okay, okay.
right?
Okay.
And obviously for every form you have to create a separate endpoint because you'll be taking different information,
Okay.
One
right? So
question is there.
hmm. I mean, just to, before you ask your question, I just wanted to confirm it is clear, right?
Yes, this
Yeah,
is
but
clear.
one question. Can I?
Yeah.
That is there, no, in app.py you have written request.form.get in bracket student name or gender. This is the same that we have mentioned in exact same mentioned in the HTML. It's name or value. Which one will come here? In HTML file you have mentioned, no, like name is equal to this and value is equal to this.
Yes.
So what will come here? Like name or value will come here.
Where you want to, what will come where? I mean, where exactly where?
Like in app.py you have written name is equal to request.form.get inside bracket something mentioned you. Yeah.
Right.
This inside bracket whatever is there, that will come from where? Like from HTML file you have written a name will go in the when you click submit button, exact the value portion will go there or the name portion will go there?
Value, because see, now it is actually, so it is not referring to HTML anymore, it is referring to this form data.
Huh.
Okay, so this form data, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get the request from the form. I'm trying to get the value of this variable. What is the value? Others. So this others will be assigned to, where it will get assigned to this variable.
To name means this will come from somewhere, no? Like student name. The student name is in value mentioned or in
No,
name
we put it in
mentioned?
the form. Put in the form. Whatever I mention here, from there it will come. Did you get this?
It's to just like a label. I'm not asking for label inside the this input type you have mentioned, no value or a name. So somewhere it should be
Yeah.
connected, no?
Yeah, so it is connected, right? See, I put name here. I put my name here. Okay. I want this name to go to backend. All right. So this name will be initially assigned to this variable. Which variable? The variable I've created in my HTML file.
Yeah,
Name.
that's what I'm asking.
Stud name. So here what will happen? Here this thing will happen. Stud name equals to others. Okay. So this value is coming from here. Okay. So what I'm saying in the form that you create a variable called stud name and assign whatever is put in the input. Okay. Whatever is put in the input. Ultimately, you will be taking value from client, not from the form. Did you get this? So this value got assigned here in the payload. Where is it? Where is the payload? In register. Right. So see, this stud name got others. Now at the back end, I'll be using this form data. So for a back end, this is my variable name and this is my value. Right. For front end, again, this was the variable name, but this is the value I put inside. At the back end, this is the variable and this is the value assigned. So I have to retrieve this. So how do I retrieve this? I'll go back to my app.py and use the same name attribute that was there in the form, and whatever value was assigned, I will try to get it with this method, and the value will be assigned to this variable. Because at the end of
Understood.
the
As you
day,
mentioned, sorry.
yeah. So at the end of the day, what I want to do, the value that I'm putting in the form, the information that I'm putting in the form has to go to server, and server should make use of it. So it will obviously store it somewhere. So that these are the variables I'm creating at the server in the Python. And this is how I'm storing their value, that form data, into each of these variables. Okay. So, I mean, this will be clear when I run this and show, right? So we have call. So we have four of the, how many? 6. So stream and address. I'll very quickly copy this again. I'll write stream, stream, and address. Okay. So now everything that was put inside a form has come to the server. Okay. Everything that was put inside the form now has come to the server. Now I can do anything with this data. This is now a simple data that I have in the Python. So I can do anything with this data. So what I'll do, I'll try to first render it raw. Okay. So what I'll do, return all these things. So I'll return name, gender. Not sure. Can we do this? Can we do this? Or okay, what I'll do, I'll return a template. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just create a new file. Let's say output.html. Output.html. Okay, so output.html, or let's say review.html, which you already wanted to create, right? Review. Sorry. So this review.html will actually show you what data you have put, and so that you can review whether the data that I've put is correct or not, right? And the title, I'll just add review information. Okay, and in the body, I will simply write the name, I mean all the attribute things, and then I'll retrieve that everything from the backend. All right, so for this is where we will use Jinja templating. Okay, so I hope you have understood basics of Jinja from week 3. So if this is where we'll try to use that Jinja templating. Okay, because why? Because I cannot hard code any data, right? I cannot write like this, right? I cannot hard code here. The name will keep on changing as I change it in the form, right? So whatever I've put in the form should come here, right? And it should not be hard coded. So that is what we are trying to do. Okay, so first I'll write, let's say, your information or your entered information. Okay, and then there is one more thing that I'll write is gate application. Okay, so these are the two things that will come by default. Okay, then I'll write name. Okay, let me add everything in H3. Okay, there is no specific rule on which you should add. It's just that I'm choosing H3 randomly. Okay, so this is where I want name. Okay, similarly, I'll add other things. So name, then there is age. I think there was gender first. Then there is age.
Qualification.
Qualification.
Then stream. No?
Yes, stream and address. Stream and address. Okay, so these are the values that I want. So I simply do not have any data as of now, right? So how do I put this data? For example, let me go back to my app.py. Okay, so I will render a template. That is okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll render the template. And what is the template I'm going to render? Review.html. Okay, but then I need to send this data inside my template, right? So how do I do that? I'll create a variable one for template. So in template, I want to use this variable called name. And what I want to assign this variable, right? That is coming in line number 8. So I'll do the name. Okay. Yes. So the LHS name, although they look same, name equals to name, but what is the meaning of this? This is the variable that I'm going to use in my template, which one? Review.html. And this is the variable that is coming from Python. Okay, so whatever value is assigned to this name variable will then get assigned to this variable, and I can very easily use this variable inside my template. Okay, I'll show the difference also, but I think you got this. Okay, gender.
Sir, in Jinja, we were using a separate type of command for rendering in Jinja. We are using something else. We are using some, I don't remember that name. It was not render template. It was something else.
It was template. I know it is render only. It was render, but that is Jinja when you use within Python. Now we are using Jinja in Flask. Okay. So Flask underlying, inside of the Flask, it uses Jinja, and therefore it has defined its own method. Okay. So render template will actually render HTML. It takes the HTML with the value. Okay. That the other method that you saw was, you first create a template and then you do render and then you provide the data like this.
Yes.
Okay. Why was this here? Because this was a part of HTML, Python only, right? Now we are working with web application. So we need to define those methods which are defined in Flask. Ultimately, this render template is making use of.
Render template is taking the file, is taking the name of the file as the first attribute. This render template method.
Yes.
Is taking the name of the file as the first attribute, which it is going to render.
Yes. And then the date,
like
if required.
And then the date. Okay.
Yes.
So in the even assignment as well, we can have a separate HTML file. It's not that we have to.
Which assignment?
Week 4.
Week
it's
4.
Not
yes.
Because
yes.
In week 3, we had to do it in the same Python file, and we had to render it there itself. But here we are having a separate HTML.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
And the final one is address. Okay, so what is happening? The entire data is this data is going to my review.html. So see, there is a difference between rendering this and rendering this, right? I mean, somebody had asked that why are we not using render template instead of HTML? See, this is only rendering the file. It does not have anything to do with the post method. Here also it is only rendering that review.html. It does not have anything with the method. But once the post method is triggered, what you have to do? You have to take this data, then render any other file. Okay. So there are two things that you can do. Either you render or you redirect. We'll come to redirect later. Maybe not today, after week 5. But generally what you do, you first render the form, fill in the information, submit the form with post method, get inside this loop, and then render other information. So how do you render? You use another file.
So show the review.html.
Yes.
Review.html.
Yeah. So review.html is simply yes.
It
Can
is
you see
not
this?
having
Review.html.
the double traces. It is not having double traces.
Yes, it is not having, because now I will add those. Okay, so see, now my data is gone into my HTML, but where do I want to show that data? In these rows, right? So here I'll write exactly those variables which I've created on the LHS, all the LHS meaning left hand side, all these one. Okay, so these I'll add here in review with double curly braces, because they are not hard coded data, they are variables. So Jinja need to understand that, okay, I'm trying to render a variable. Wrong bracket.
So these are the LHS values, no sir? LHS values. And the
yes, LHS.
RHS values are the ones which you use.
LHS.
RHS values are the ones
in Python.
you use in Python.
Yes, Python ones.
That
so see here, I mean, if I tell, yes. See, here I'm assigning values to these variables, and yes, here I'm assigning values to template, and here I'm assigning those values which are assigned in these variables to another variables, which is same, right? Okay. So this is how I give information taken from the form to another template. Let me save everything and let's see if this works. Okay, so what we'll do is we will just so we'll just try to reload this. Okay, so now with get method, the last one, right? This is the get method. So I got the form, the method is get, so it did not go into that post if. Okay, so the method is get. Now what I'll do, I'll give my information. Okay, so once the information is given, what will happen? I go to submit. What will this do? It will go to same endpoint /register, but with post method. What will happen? The function will trigger. Function gets triggered. It checks whether the method is post or not. The method is post. Okay. So once the method is post, what will happen? It will retrieve everything that has gone in payload into Python. And from Python, it will render review.html and put everything that was loaded in Python into review.html. And we should be able to see all that data coming on this screen. And on this, should be able to see the post and payload. Okay, so I click on submit, right? So if I go back to register, I see payload. So this data has now come into my HTML. So this is review info. See, so review.html got rendered. Okay, is this clear? The flow did you get?
So just once show the
yes,
clear.
Review.html just once. Okay, it is.
Can you see this?
H1 H3. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, the heading, gate application, and your entered information I did in H1. Remaining everything I did in H3. Just add an HR for HR is something that gives horizontal range. So I just have to reload it.
Though we didn't add breaks, how these lines are getting?
Yeah, so this is because we have used H. H is a block element, if you remember.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay, so block element will not allow everything to come here. It will go back.
Okay, okay, okay.
Is this clear? Okay, so now one more thing we'll do is, finally, once you are done with this information, you feel that it is fine, we will have a one button here which will say submit, right? Final submit, which will actually submit your registration, right? So what we'll do is, we will go to, I'll just add a link here. I'll write H4, and within H4 I'll add link. Okay, and href, I'll just create a new, right? So let's say I do success. Okay, so this success is an endpoint which I'm creating. I'm not created as of now, right? So this is this, and the type, okay. So I've given type button href success, and in the here we'll write final submit, let's say. Okay, final submit. But currently this there will be only button. Okay, so this type button is not working, so we'll leave it. Currently we just have a link. Okay, final submit. So if I click on final submit, what should happen? It should just give me another page which says your registration is successful. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll create another endpoint. Why this? Because in the href I've given endpoint. So I'll go to my app.py, and just after that function I have to add another endpoint. What do I mean? What do that mean? I have to write app.route. Okay, and then what is the endpoint? Slash success, right? I don't need to mention methods because we are not taking any data as of now. We are just simply rendering that your submission is successful. Okay, no, not here. And then I'll write def success, again takes nothing. Okay, and here I'll return in H1. Okay, that's all it does. All right, so I'll just reload this. Okay, and then if I do final submit, it says not found. Why is it saying not found? Let's check that.
Success spelling, sir, you have not used correctly. Success spelling.
Oh, double C. Okay, so if it is C here, yeah, this is fine. Yeah, so your registration is successful. All right, so we'll just do it once again, everything. What I'll do the register. Okay, so see, if you want to do the get, if you want, just select it and hit enter. Okay, so it will then again go by get method. I'll write another name, just tell anybody of yours name. Okay, I'll take any random name. Okay, Pranav. Pranav, sorry. All right, male. If you're younger or older. Okay, let's say computer science. Okay, so you want to give data, let's say GATE exam in AI and data science, and your address is, I'm not sure, but let's say New Delhi. Okay, then we submit. So this is your GATE application. Okay, you review this and then you do the final submit. So your registration is successful. Okay, so this is how we create applications. Okay, I hope the flow is clear to everyone.
So show that anchor tag in that.
Okay,
because it's difficult. Yeah. It's difficult to correlate everything. Sorry, sir. Difficult to correlate everything together. That's why I'm asking.
It's okay. It's okay. You can see this. This is what I did.
Okay, and will you be sharing this? What do you say? Code, sir?
Yes, sure. So this code will be added to your supplementary contents in your portal.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so this app.py, register.html, review.html. Now another task that you can work on is you give a good look to this form. right? You can add CSS, all right, and then give a good look to this app form. Okay, currently the form is very ugly looking. It does not have anything as such.
Hello.
It's quite.
Hello.
Yeah, Pranav, go ahead. Am I audible?
I want to. Yes, sir, you are audible. Sir, can we generate an image and render it?
Can we generate an image and render it? Yes, you can.
Sir, how?
Generate meaning, how do you want to generate?
So like
Like any graph or something.
Okay. So we don't have data, right? How do we generate it?
Okay. If some CSV file is there, then we can do it. No? It was there.
Yeah, so we need to have a data, right? So for example, what we can do is so if you want to generate an image, what you have to do, okay, let's not worry about generating because that will be anyway done by Matplotlib, right? So you can use Matplotlib to generate image. What you have to do is you have to save that image in this folder called as static. So the way Flask looks for templates folder just to see all the HTML files, it looks for static folder. Okay, I did statics. It is actually static, not statics. Okay. Similarly, it looks for static folder to see all the static files like images, JS files, CSS files. So there you have to add all CSS files. Okay. So for example, if I add an image here, yeah, I have this profile.jpg, right? So I have to add this image. Oh no, profile, not QStable. So if I add this image profile.jpg in my static, how do I render it on my page? I'll go to my review. Okay, this is where I want to see. And below this, not here, below this HR, I'll write image tag. Okay, and what will be the source to that image? It will be static slash profile dot jpg. Okay, it will be static, and alternative it is, let's say, profile image. Okay, so it will be static slash profile dot jpg because that image is coming from static folder. Okay, so let me go
But
to
we
the front
didn't
end and see.
mention HTML file is coming from templates folder, no?
That's what. So by default, by default, Flask looks for HTML file from templates folder. By default, it will look for
So we have to
static.
explicitly mention static here for image sourcing.
No, this is not. This has nothing to do with Flask, right? This is HTML. In HTML, we have to mention. Where did we mention that HTML files? In Python. In Python, we don't have to because Flask is taking care of it. But in HTML, we have to mention because it has nothing to do with Flask.
Okay.
Right? I mean, there is a better way of doing it, but that we'll see later. Where Flask intervenes. Okay, so there is a better way of rendering image using Flask that we can see later when we have better, right? So here what I'll do is I can also give it height and width. Height equals to, let's say, 200, width equals to 200.
That render template will do for all HTML.
Yes, only for HTML. Yes. Okay, so you can see this is my application got created. Okay, so the file that you are going to create with mat.lib, what basically do you use to save that figure? For example, you have the data, you created the file. What will you do? You'll do plt dot savefig, and here write this. Generally, it takes PNG. So do this. Okay, this will save the file by default in static, and this will help Flask to take image from static. Okay, this is something that you can do. Now, if there is an issue with re-rendering the image, there is a small code that we have to add in your app, in the code, small piece of code that will share the supplementary contents.
What
Okay, is
was
this
that
clear
code?
till now? That will share in the supplementary content, which is a 5-6 line code that we have to 3-4 lines code that we have to add. Okay, so basically, I'm not sure if you got the. So there is a small error that comes in when you try to reload the image. When that error comes, we will share a piece of code to you that you can add in the file. This is for lab assignment. All right. So I hope this is clear, right? Register.html, view.html, getting data and backend. Okay, getting the data and backend here, render it here. Okay. Now one thing that you can do is add CSS. So where will you add CSS in static folder? Okay, and then link it in your HTML file to make it better. Okay. Any queries till this
Okay,
point?
CSS will be in static folder.
Yes, CSS will
That
be in
is
static
also
folder.
HTML type, no?
No, CSS is CSS. No, it is not HTML. It is .css file, right?
So
Okay.
CSS files aren't compulsory, right?
No, they're not. I'm just saying for this
Okay.
this activity we did.
Okay. Sure. And also the you said that when we try to reload, we get some error with regard to that image. What is it?
That will
No, so
will
see
you
what is
let us know?
happening. No, see what is happening when you work with Matplotlib and when you try to plot an image. What happens is there is a new window that opens, right? I mean,
Yes.
in
Yeah.
general, when you work with Matplotlib, there is a new window which opens and the image is shown in that window. Okay, but what are you trying to do now? You're trying to embed that image into an HTML file. You don't want to plot it, right? You don't
Correct.
want to show it there itself. You just want to add that image in the static folder or in your file structure, and then you want to render it as an image in HTML. So what is happening? So what is the normal flow? You create the image, you do all the submit and everything for the course ID, student ID. It do the processing. It does the processing at the backend, then saves the images, and the HTML will render that image. This is the normal flow of your application, which you assume. But what is
Correct.
Matplotlib trying to do? It is trying to plot that image in the new window,
Okay. Separately it
right?
tries to
Yes.
plot.
So this kind of breaks the loop. This will try to break the app.run loop and you will get the error. Okay. So if you have seen the error main thread not in main loop, that is the error that you'll get.
Okay.
Okay. So that is what we have to worry about, and that is what we have to rectify. So that rectification is done with the 3 lines of code, which is something that we're going to, I think that should be shared, but okay, if not, I'll add it in the supplementary contents and you can refer to that.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, so this is what I wanted to give in today's session. Hopefully, it was clear to you. You can go to this session once again and understand how things or data is flowing from HTML form. I mean, from the client to HTML form, from client to server, and from server to another HTML form. Okay, this is the flow of data. So just go through it and try to become at least proficient in this part, so that later on when we work with model, there will be then other component getting added called database. So data will now be fetched from the database, worked about into the controller, then thrown to the view, right? And vice versa. Data coming from view will go to controller, get processed, and then get saved into the database. So there is this third component getting added from week 5. So we'll work on that, and if that will become easier, and that has its own challenges, right? So we'll be introducing ORM and things. So if you are good with whatever we have learned till today, then that should not be a problem, right? Okay, so if there is any doubt, we will close the session. Rohit, you want to share? Can you share? Or you figured it out? I am
Thank you
audible,
very
right?
much, Nadesh. Very helpful. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So if there is nothing, you can drop off.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Leaving for now.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Rohit, is this sorted? Your doll was sorted, or do we have to worry about it? Are you there?
Sorry.
Yeah, you were
Sir.
mentioning about that form, right?
Oh yeah, sir.
You're on mute. I'll just stop presenting.
And I was mentioning about it, and I haven't wrote the full code yet. I'm just trying.
That's okay. You can share and just let me know what is happening, so we can just.
1 minute, sir. Like, this is the message which is coming. Is it visible?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, can you go to the code?
And here I just wrote that basic code, and whatever you have done subsequently, I've done it in other file. So
Okay, can you go to the terminal?
1 sec. This terminal, right, sir? Below?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, just 1 minute.
Yeah, so your application is not running, no? Just run your application, a Python app.py.
Sir, I've run it actually. 1 minute.
See, the thing is, your app.py is within your week 4, right?
Yes.
So you have to go inside week 4. Okay, so you do a CD week 4.
CD week 4.
1 second, I'll show you. Just close this. Just go to.
1 minute, sir.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to reload it. Presenting. Can you please show it, please? How to do it?
Yeah, you share the screen, I'll show you. You share the screen and follow along what I say, and it should be okay. All right, can you share your screen? Yeah. Yeah, so the application is running now. Initially, it was not running. Can you open PowerShell here on the top just to see what it is showing? Just open it. Just click on it. Click on PowerShell. Can you scroll down? Okay, so nothing is being run, right? So you can go to that Python shell again. See here, your application is running, right? So you can go to that link running on HTTP. Yeah. Now reload this. Yep. Okay. So now it is working. You go to your app.py once again. Okay. Go to register.html. You have to add something on register.html. No. In the file. In the register.html file. Yeah. Okay. Now what you have to do is in the label, just add student name in the label, content of label, not for, content of label. Go to the label tag, line number 13. Yeah, so what is the content? Where do you add the content for a tag? Actual content of a tag. Just beside student name, you see that closing label? Yeah, right there, right within that. No, inside that. Yes, right here, name. Okay, just save it. No, label, you're just creating a label name, right? Save it. Save. Yeah, reload it. Yeah, now you can see. So yeah, initially the problem was your application was not running. Now the application is running. You did not have any content to show on the page. Is this clear? Did you get the problem?
Yes, sir, I got the problem. I was just wondering that how to do this thing, means how to understand that we are running the application or not. Because
Uh,
I
yeah, so see
done.
this, you see this, I mean, whenever you run an application and go to an endpoint, it will show the endpoint method and what got returned. The first line, debugger in the terminal itself, not there. The previous terminal, yeah, here. See, your application is running, no? It's running on HTTP, this thing. And then the
Okay.
first thing, the moment you make any hit on the URL, that should appear in the log.
Okay.
Right here, so it will appear, so you'll know that the application is running.
Okay, sir. Understood. Thank you.
Okay, so you can I'll share the code in supplementary content. You can follow along.
Actually, I've written it alongside another notepad file, so I will
Okay.
just copy paste it, sir.
Yeah, sure.
And then verify with the code in supplementary.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right then. All right. So we will close this. Let's meet you all probably on Wednesday. Okay. All right. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, sir.